Okay, so this is going to be a basic introduction into layout, which is essentially acts like a plugin to SketchUp, enabling us to start to dimension and annotate some of the drawings that we would build in SketchUp itself. So the way that this works is you actually link in a file from SketchUp, and it actually plugs in each one of these guys. Select this, and it loads in a scene or a view, similar to the way Revit actually puts together sheet sets. The way that this is set up is that each one of these guys running across the top is essentially a drawing tool, so you can start to trace over these to start to build out the drawings. So if you're really wanting to do a lot of annotation for this, you can actually come in and redraw the plans and the sections based on the sectioning tools here. And that's really the way that that works. You can cut sections through here and capture views, but there's not really all that much more going on under the hood of layout. Okay, over here we have our main toolbar. When you open this up, you're going to see each one of these guys sort of expanded out. And I'm going to go ahead and wait for this to finish loading here. But what this will basically enable us to do is if we go in our SketchUp model, when you load a model in, and to do that you're going to go File, Insert, and then you go find your file, and it'll insert it in there. And what it'll do is it'll load this in from the last saved view. Now what you need to do is you actually have to dialog the views between SketchUp and the scene here. So this is the view that we have in SketchUp, and so when I port that into the layout scheme here, it'll automatically do that. And so I can save and update the SketchUp model to reflect different views that I want to actually be able to see in my layout document. So we can start to generate plans by manipulating this in here. And so as we go through this, say if I go through and rotate this, and then I right click, update that view, and then File, save this, resave the document, I can come in here, and if I go into my file document setup here, I can basically refresh my references. And so you can see that it's coming here and it's letting me know that this file is now out of date. And so if I come in here and update that and hit close, you'll see that the view has actually been updated. And so now that's an important sequence of steps to maintain as you go through this. You have to update the view. You have to update the view in SketchUp here, and you also then have to save the file and then reload it into into layout. So update, file, save, and then go into layout, and you can update that. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and come back here, and we'll go back into plan, and then we'll do an update, save again, and then when we're in layout, document setup, references, and then we just go ahead and hit update. Now the nice thing about this is we can go ahead and set some other things up in here. So we can come in here and I'll just set that so it's always going to be scene 1 when we look at that, and you can rename the scenes as you see fit in the SketchUp model, and it'll register in here. The nice thing about this though is we can start to set scales. So if we want this drawing to read at a 1/4 scale, we can go ahead and dump that in, and it'll actually start to go in there, and we can start to pull this around. Okay. Alright, and then we can come in here and edit this, and you can see that we might have stuff that falls off the extents of our guy here. If we want to rotate the view, we can roll over this little widget in here and then rotate that around. Okay, and we can come in here and expand that part around, and we can go ahead and just massage this into place until we get the drawings to start to sit on our page layout the way that we want them to. And I'm just going to scroll back so I can come in here, and all of the mouse tools operate exactly the same way as they did in SketchUp. So that's one really nice feature about this. Alright, so the next thing we can come in here and do is we can start to dimension out different features in here. So if we come in here on dimension, this will automatically snap to these guys, and so we can come in here and zoom in, and so it'll automatically snap to the midpoint. We can try that again. There it goes. So we can snap to that midpoint, and then we can get that. So we come back here in our selection tool, we can come in and we can start to set the units on this. So we can go to architectural, it says 10 feet 0 inches, so that we can start to demark that. Now if you're trying to represent this and you actually need to edit this and say that's actually, you want that to be 10 feet, but it's not actually quite 10 feet, because SketchUp's not the most accurate modeling software, we can double click in this and then edit that, and then type the dimension that that's actually supposed to be, and edit that. So And we can say that that's 11 feet. And note that it doesn't adjust the model in any way, we can start to control the annotations from that perspective. Okay. If we press T, we can also add text to this, so we can start to draw on our drawings, and we can start to edit some of those as well. And you'll note as we go through this, if I select the dimension in here, under the dimension styles tool, we can start to adjust the dimension type and appearance and control all the features in here. The auto scale button will maintain the scale of the drawing that it's in and automatically reflect that. So if I change the drawing scale in the SketchUp model view up here, if I change this to say 8th scale, we'll see that reflected, and the annotation is also going to update. So that's an important feature you want to make sure that you maintain. Okay, the next feature down here that we want to go through is the text font formats here. We can come in here and we can start to annotate this. You can pick something that like an AutoCAD font, and you can actually get this stuff to reflect some of the aesthetic and communication features that are some of the standards in here. And there's plenty of text editing tools. I'm not going to go into that at length. That seems relatively clear. If you guys want to create detail marks, you can come in here and you can start to draw things like the rounded rectangles here. So there's a feature in there that we want to come in, and we can draw a line. We can come in here, and then if we scroll up to our top here, our pattern fill, or our shape style, sorry, we can start to change the dashing on this to reflect that communication, whatever it is that we're trying to annotate there. So we press T for text, and then we can come in here and say this is a detail. Okay, and so that's essentially the basics of the interface here. Everything you're going to need is going to be on this sidebar across this edge. And I'm going to hide my instructor and talk to you briefly here about the last two things, the layers and pages. This is a little bit strange, but it makes sense once you actually think about it. You can have different pages in this different set of layers, and the different layers are a reflection of the different pages. And so as you guys go through this, and I've talked to you guys a little bit about the annotating of sections and those kinds of details, we can come in here and start to insert pages. And this document is actually a derivative of a template, so if we were to go create a new document, it'll come up here, and this is if we scroll all the way down to the bottom, we're using the tabloid landscape sidebar so that we can print this out on 11 by 17. But each one of these guys you will eventually want to come in and edit, and because each one of these is on a layer very similar to Photoshop and Illustrator, you have to come in here and start to edit these things. And so we come in here, we can delete this and insert this. If we come over here and actually look at our document setup, the logo is right in here, and so we can also go to relink that, and so we can pick something else on our guy here, and so say we wanted to make that guy, and you can see that immediately updates to reflect that. And once we unlock those things, we can get in here and we can change the product title, form versus play, which is the title of the project, and then we can come in here and using the text editing tools, we can make this a little bit larger, more pronounced, and then we deselect, we come in there. All right, once we're done doing those things, we want to make sure that we relock those features, so we're not going to end up messing those things up. And then we can create new pages, and you can start to create text boxes to sit in the annotation folder, and we can start to type out and explain what it is that we're looking at in each one of these guys. Okay. All right, and so that should get you set up in layout, and as you go through this, you guys should be able to just place each one of your views of your SketchUp model. And so if you need to insert a new view of your SketchUp model, if we come in here, go ahead, shrink this down, we can go to our cover page, our inside page here. If we can go Control-C, we can take that, go to page 3, paste that into place, and then we can come over here along our SketchUp model, and we can start to adjust which scene that that's looking at. So say we want this to look at the elevation, we can rotate that into place. And you can see exactly how we can start to set up and organize our document and lay out our images in here to create the document sheet set that we're going to be required to create in the project.